How you want to start? Yeah. As I was saying last time that whatever problem, whatever situation we may have in our lives, my answer is going to be, it used to be, who is it that has this problem? But now the answer is, just be with God. And then the question becomes, so how do I be with God in these situations? So the first question then we have to ask ourselves is, do I really want to? When Maya is hypnotizing us, do we really want to be with God? No, we don't. Because during that time, at that time, we want to handle things. We want to take care of business. So taking charge of taking our will back from God, presuming that we handed it over in the first place, is what happens when life pushes us around a little bit. And strangely, the whole idea behind that is that this I need to handle. I need to handle this because the one who's handling it is who? The one who's handling it is God. And obviously, our delegation to him was not a good idea. So I need to take charge again. Because mostly, I wouldn't go that far. Mostly, we forget who's handling it anyway. So, how to be with God? Okay, everyone on the chat also you can write. Like I'm practically asking, how does one, in any situation, what is required for us to be with God? Turn towards Him only. What else? Let go of yourselves. Very good. Very good. You see, because the road is narrow and both cannot fit on the same road. Uh, And if you want to make a slight, very careful adjustment to that, you can say that I may be able to fit on that road, or whatever remains of me now may be able to fit on that road if God is like the overwhelming one on that, and I am just a tiny, measly servant along with him. But broadly speaking, only one of us can fit on this road. So whatever we do is to empty ourselves of what we take ourselves to be, of not of what we are. Because if we knew and we didn't forget what we are, then the process of emptying would not be needed. To know who we really are is actually the same as being with God or being what we really are. Because we take ourselves to be this name, this identity, this one who has wants, has desires, has had birth, will have death. That is why that emptying is needed. Then, if you empty, then what happens? To the mind, that's full stop. You see? To the mind, that's full stop, isn't it? Finish. I'm gone only. So, what do you want me to say? If I'm not there, what will happen to me? That is the extent of where the mind can reach us. But somewhere deeper than the mind, we know that in that emptying, we then seem to come in close contact with the holy light of God's presence within our heart. So it's like in the world, I was dancing just here. I didn't have any idea what was here. You see? And then when I turned inwards and then emptied myself, then I was drawn to a deep place that we may call the heart. It is the spiritual heart, not the emotional one, not the physical one. And then, just in the sunshine of that, in the dazzlingly dark luminosity of that, that what we took ourselves to be, the grasping one, that one starts to dissolve, and we become full of this light, which is not a perceivable light, but it is a intuitively recognizable light. Have I lost you? So the challenge in satsang is how to still walk along when the mind is lost interest. The mind basically gives up and says, now this is beyond my level. So let's turn away and start thinking about what else we have to do in the rest of our day. And in that, the crux of what was intended to be shared then is lost. You see? So we had the appetizer, but then we turn away from the main meal. So the appetizer is what to do. The mind can deal with that. No? It loves to hear. The spiritual mind wants to know what to do. But then when it goes beyond that, when it goes to the point of surrendering in the light of the Atma within, That is when the mind is out of moods or starts to imagine all kinds of things which have nothing to do with reality. So, all of you with me till this point? Turning towards God, emptying oneself full of love, humility, gratitude for God. Then we come to that where the truth is found. This is where Bhakti and Jnana meet. You can come to this point by sincerely letting go of who you are and asking sincerely, who am I? You will not reach some other station. Like in devotion and love for God, you reach station A. In asking yourself who you are sincerely, you reach station B. It is not like that. You have to reach the same station. You will land on the same airport. Where truth, love, beauty, true knowledge, all that is found. So the drop now is gravitating towards the dissolution in the ocean itself. And the ocean has the pull of love pulling us in, and Maya has the pull of fear, desire, separation, duality pulling us out. Sense both of these? So, who's unfamiliar with the pull from the world? Anyone unfamiliar with that? Right now, you could get a thought about a topic that you are conditioned with, and that thought, when believed, could turn you away towards the world. Are we familiar with that or not? Especially on Zoom, it is easier because the internet is fully accessible. You can even mute this Zoom and you can put on a YouTube and hear that. You can do any of those things. Okay? But that force is recognizable for us, isn't it? So, what about the other pull, the loving call from the heart? That also felt met. All you have to do, all most of us have to do, is close our eyes for a few seconds and just let a few thoughts go. And you're in the beautiful magnetism of the heart. The true one. Right? It's not much more difficult than that. Is that your experience? Or? Yes? Don't disagree. See, what is the color, shape, size of that which is drawing you in? What will you get as a result of that? We don't know, isn't it? At least in the mind, we don't know. Is it really there? That also we don't really know. Exactly. So we don't really, we can't really say that every time I turn within, I'm pulled into the magnetism of love. So remember that what we call love is usually of the variety of the outpouring. Oh, I feel, I feel so much love. I feel, no, I love you, I love you. I love you. That love. So let's call that the outpouring of love. As long as it is unconditional, then it is also pure love. But it is the outpouring of a deeper love. And this deeper love is the source of it. And we don't have any external mechanisms to make out, to measure, to conclude. We're just not able to do it without additional tools. And that is why this project will always be a project of faith. Are you all with me so far? There's a felt, there's an outpouring of love which you then can measure and say, right now, I feel so much love. You see? And the other time where you feel that there's nothing, it's just dry, not feeling anything at all. It happens to us in satsang also. Even if the same things are being shared in the same way, some days we may feel so much love, and on other days it just be boring, dry, irritating, same old, same old. So we can't really predict. Everybody would love to have the first, But God, in His wisdom, decides how much is needed when, in terms of the outpouring. And this needs faith. And again, faith doesn't mean you must follow because I am saying it. Faith means that in your heart you know it is true. In the universal heart, which is playing as all our hearts, universally it is recognized to be true. That as we follow the fragrance of even the felt love, we are led to that which is beyond all feelings and can be recognized only from a much deeper place. So, this is the leap of faith, to trust your heart. Again, not the emotional heart, the feeling heart, but the deeper place, more than what we think we know. That is faith. It's just like saying, who lives in your heart? So there are two ways to answer this. One is conceptually, yes, yes, everybody has told me. I've even had some beautiful feelings from my heart. So then, conceptually, inferentially, we may say it is God. But what is the other way of saying this? Able to follow? Well, one way is conceptually. We infer because of feelings, because we've heard from so many credible people, God lives in my heart. What is the other way of saying it? What gives those credible people the credibility to say it? Is it just a rumor that's been spread since time began? Uh, is God in your heart just a rumor, a popular rumor? Or does it have some credibility? And if it has credibility, then what gives it that credibility? Most of us, or at least most of our brothers and sisters, live as if it is just a rumor. You don't know. हाँ होंगे, क्या पता, must be, who knows, who can tell. Let's get real. let's, so let's get real is actually saying let's get unreal. The reality is left behind just because it seems to be unreality to our senses. What is the basis on which you can say that God is in your heart? So if the basis is at the point that you agree with it because your teacher tells you it is that way, it is a starting point. But it has to become your own. Exactly. So it has to become your own insight. Will it become your own inside? In the same process we were talking about, you can confirm that the sun is not fiction when you come into the light of the sun. Sitting in a dark cave like Plato's cave, it will seem like fiction, isn't it? So don't just say the light of God, or don't just say, oh, love and light to you. It's very popular to say these things. It's all right, it's very sweet to say. But what is that light? So the invitation was to spend as much of our life in that light as possible. Because spirituality is the process of getting that tan. But then if you want that tan and then you say, I don't go into the light, then how is it gonna? You want to get tan in the light of God, and you don't need any sunscreen. There's nothing to protect. Yeah. Yeah. So if we feel that whatever appeals to us, so I would say Ramji is standing with me. Where does that feeling get me? Where does that bhav, the feeling, where does it get us? What happens to us in that bhav, in that feeling? Exactly. Yes. Exactly. So good. That's exactly the point. So it is no longer, although the words may have come as inspiration from the outside, the exercise may even be imaginary, where we say, imagine if the Lord was with you right now. But the point of it is that it brings us with a great innocence into that very same place of the heart temple, isn't it? And then what does your heart tell you? Does it say, no, it is not true. God is not with you. No, your heart tells you that it is true that inside, outside, everywhere is only made up of God Himself. And it's a beautiful way to remain in that feeling, to remain in that remembrance. Is the forgetting of this fact that gets us in trouble. And although many times in satsang we may say, God is on the inside, look for Him on the inside. You all know that the so-called outside is only inside as well, isn't it? There is no real outside. It's like a dream is always inside the dreamer. This world dream is also always inside the observer. So anything that brings us in that holy place, in that holy luminosity of God's light, that is good enough. So the process of turning towards God, starting from the remembrance that we have to turn towards God, to the actual sitting empty in the holy sunlight, that whole process we are calling prayer, contemplation, whatever name you want to give to it. Satsang, another name for the same thing. To come to the company of God, to the company of the truth. So remember that when we are using the word prayer, we are not saying just the petition part of prayer. Most of the world feel that prayer is petition to God. It includes the petition part, but it's much, much, much more than that. You may just turn inwards in a gentle, loving glance. That is prayer. On the other hand, you may say the best sounding words without turning within at all. That is not prayer. They may sound like the holiest words. So prayer is both the invocation as well as the resting in God. Yes. So the words that are shared in satsang can only bring us to the point of you having to apply them. The rest of being in satsang may help with the application part as well. But for now, it is safe to presume that you have to apply. Very strange examples are coming today. So it came to say that if you don't sit or stand in the light of the worldly sun, you get a deficiency, vitamin D deficiency. But if you don't stand in the light of the inner sun, you get a zombie life. Which one is worse? You decide. Worst, the worst is getting neither. How to live like a zombie? Just don't turn inwards. Suppose that we don't turn inwards, but we read a lot of books about turning inwards. Zombie or not zombie? Worse, that's worse. That's more dead than dead. So the point of the reading is that it should bring us inwards. Like for everything, we may read a lot of books about humility, but forget to do any humble act. And then still be left with the delusion that we are humble because we know what humility is. I feel that that's worse than not knowing what humility is and not being. That is my fear that came, what, about 2 years ago, 3 years ago, in Satsang, where my fear was that are we going to be just reduced to a lip service spirituality, where we think we know a lot and we think we know ourselves, but there is no evidence of that in our presence, in our light, in our expression. And of course, I'm including myself in that. So one prompting that stayed with me from that time is Kierkegaard saying, no faith, no risk. Or no risk, no faith. And I realized, I asked myself, so what am I risking? Because faith always is risky. When you turn away from the world in the faith that God is in your heart, the mind will tell you that you're missing out on life. You're missing out on opportunity. You could end up becoming a nobody. Nobody knows who you are. You have no money in your bank. Nothing to call yours. You just spend your whole life chasing this made up idea of spirituality. Therefore, chasing the spirit, chasing the Atma. So, if I was to ask that if you could spend your entire life without being in the light of spirit, or you could spend your entire life just having no fulfillment of your worldly desires, what would it be? Whole life without the light of spirit, or whole life without the fulfillment of worldly desire? So I'm going to hold you to that answer, all of you, because we have to live like that. I'm not saying you're not living like that, but it gives us a good steering wheel as to how to steer our life, isn't it? And the beauty is that in the light of spirit, it doesn't have to be that your worldly life is your worst case scenario. It could be, and that's why it's a risk. You're not taking away the riskiness from it. But the famous example, everybody wants to be King Janaka and nobody wants to be Ashtavakra. For whom the reference is known, King Janaka obviously was the ruler of a kingdom and yet enlightened, and Ashtavakra lived the life, very, very frugal, simple life, and his body was distorted in 8 places. Ashtavakra, 8 distortions. So, what is the determinant of that? What is the determinant of that? What our priorities are? What is the real determinant of that? Or maybe the word real is to go too far, but mostly a good determinant of that is time. It's time. You're in a relationship, you say, I love you the most, and your partner says, I need more than words. You want to escape the life of Maya, lead a godly life, a spiritual life, between the life in the light of spirit. What takes up your time, attention, focus? That is the determinant of that. Uh, you may meet many people in social circumstances also. Most people I talk to, they say, I'm also very spiritual. So what is the determinant of that? Is it just the concept? Oh, I also read a few books. I'm also spiritual. I also attended some meditation classes. I'm very spiritual. I'm not looking down on these things. But are we trying to lead our lives in the light of spirit? Shouldn't that be the determinant of our spirituality? So how easily we can say I'm very spiritual, very spiritual. We don't leave our ego for a minute. We don't spend time in the light of spirit, and yet we are able to say I'm very spiritual. Where is the spirit? What has that spirit done in your life? What if the bigger question is, what have we allowed it to do in our life? That is why this what is being shared in Satsang, to remain in the light of the Spirit, is a life-giving injection. They're like IV fluids for those who are completely dehydrated. Now, the thing is that most of us leading a zombie life, most of our brothers and sisters leading a zombie life, will not even realize the zombiness of it. That is the power of Maya. That is why she's called the greatest con artist. Kabirji wrote another very provocative set of words. He said, "O man, मूर्ख जन्म गवाए." Man, मूर्ख जन्म गवाए. And when he's saying man, he's not really saying mind, which means, "O mind, you foolishly wasted, made this life futile." What is he talking about? Who is he talking to? Everyone. All of us. Everyone. मूर्ख जन्म गवायो in what? We foolishly wasted our life in what? Now the number one defense could be, he doesn't mean it about me. Because how many people have heard this? I saw on YouTube the bhajan or the singing of it. Got tens of thousands of views. So he's looking at the human condition and talking to all of us. But what is he calling futility? It's like the Ecclesiastes where King Solomon was it, who said, it's all vanity, all vanity. Vanity is not that kind of vanity in this case. No, it's all going, it's a waste. It's ephemeral. The diamond in your pocket that you never meant. Exactly. So, what is he talking about? How are we spending our time? You see, in this case, when he's talking about the lifetime being wasted, he's talking about the time part of it. Possibly he's not talking about the intention part of it. Because all of us have the highest intention about our lives. But that intention translating into application. Exactly. The consent we've been talking about, you see. The yes from within is the consent for the spirit to act on us, for God's action in our hearts. But you can't just yes and run. Signed up for a medical procedure. You can't just sign and then run from the hospital. You have to be operated on also. Yeah. I don't know today the chemical is sitting too close to me. For example. So this is the point. Both the yes and the lifetime to be made available for God's action in our hearts. In the form of true love, true knowledge, true beauty unfolding. When it comes to time spent with God, we want to become very non-phenomenal. Why does God need time? He's beyond time and space. He should be able to do this. But remember that He's kept the principle the same so that we can understand them. Principle is that if you're a parent and your children don't call you for a month, and then they say, but I really love you. Or our relationship with our partner is a very good example. So how not to waste this life? Am I saying everyone should start wear orange robes, go into the jungle, sit in caves? There's no guarantee that in the jungle you will be more in the heart. You'll be more scared of monkeys and tigers and constant. Or the discomfort in the body because of the lack of the lifestyle we're used to may create too much distraction for too many years. So there's no guarantee of any of that. There are many people who escape city life, want to live in farmlands and in Goa and all beautiful places. And many times they're not able to escape their own mind. Remember, the drama is not in your life. The drama is not in your life. The drama is in your head. So to escape the drama, you don't have to escape your outer life. And humility is the best. Sorry if it sounds like a digression, but it really is not. So best, best support system in this entire journey is humility. Don't take yourself to be anybody. It's both a spiritual pointer as well as just a safeguard, a beautiful safety net. When we take ourselves to be the servants of God, then we try to hand over our will to God, then very few things can actually trouble us. What can trouble us? When we don't get what we want, that is troublesome. When things don't go my way, that is troublesome. How many of us can be this? Even this famous poet wrote this saying, "Man ka ho to acha, man ka na ho to aur bhi acha." Harivansh Rai Bachchan. It means that if it goes, and it's not, he's not in Satsang, so he may say this, which is that if it goes according to my mind, it's good. But if it doesn't go according to my mind, it's even better. Why is it even better? Then it's going to God's mind, God's will. That is humility. And it takes us away from getting distracted by our mental energy. That's why surrender is so important. Unless you are surrendered, how will you rest in your heart? Every minute something will bother you. ये हुआ, फिर वो हुआ, this happened, and that happened. If you're too attached to your ways, then the mind will have 100 opportunities to distract you every day. Because as much as you may work towards making everything just perfect for your life, it doesn't work out that way for nobody, for anybody. It's very important because what happens when you close your eyes, or even with open eyes, you try to remain in that holy light. The mind will come and say, you know, it is very wrong what that person said to you. It's very wrong. How dare she? And we put ourselves in this sort of heroic position of being right constantly. How is it that everybody in the world is right? There's The mind's game is just a strange absurdity. And when everybody takes themselves to be right, what happens? Can't get anyone else to agree with that. I mean, unless the other one is mature. You see how all of this helps us to stay simply and lovingly in our heart. I hope all of us can see the connection. And if you think you're a Gyani and you can just ask, who am I, and you don't have to work on yourselves, very mistaken. A lot of the work happens in even inquiring honestly. I really want this, I really want this. And if you get used to asking, who am I? Who's the one that really wants it? When you learn to drop some of this tight grasping anyway in the process of that. But if you think that just by asking and then coming to a conceptual answer that I am Brahman itself, or Nirvana Brahman itself, you may feel that that answer is the answer, but it is not. Every answer, including Advaita itself, every bit of language is at the exclusion of everything. There is no word, no concept which is in the inclusion of everything. So basically, what I'm trying to say is that there is no escaping this. If you want to come to your true life, you have to spend time in your heart temple. Are all of you clear about how to cook so that he may make you eat? Yeah. Suppose that you have the full toolkit now, but you don't apply, you don't actually cook. But every day you are, and I'm speaking about myself. So every day you have a good explanation for why today you didn't really cook. And just to be clear, when we're talking about cook, we're talking about whatever is the process needed to get us, whatever is the active process of recollection. And then the eating part is the attempt to remain empty so that he may take us into the heart. So suppose that you know this and you don't do it, but every day you have a good explanation for why. It's good. Good to die like that. How am I able to say all of these things? Talking about myself. If you rationalize it to yourself and maybe to your teacher and to maybe the whole world, good enough? It's not good enough, especially because of the point where we said that to be in his light is not at the exclusion of anything, except at the exclusion of the false me.
Father, may I ask something?
Yeah.
So are you saying that we should spend 2 to 4 hours a day in God's presence? So um, does that mean that we shouldn't do anything else? I mean, for example, if I'm walking on the street or I'm cooking some food or and I'm inside my heart in those moments, do those count like 2 hours, 2 to 4 hours, or should I stay not doing anything, just praying and in solitude? And
All of those count. All of those count in the spirituality of our life. Uh, to lead a life fully in the light of spirit, we need to spend as much of the day as possible in his remembrance, in his presence, in his light. But they do not count in the 2 to 4 hours.
okay, okay, yes,
And we've taken examples for this. We said that uh, if you talk to your partner, children, and you say, come sit with me while I'm working out. Come sit with me while we're watching this TV show together. Come sit with me while we go for this run. All of those times count, but they don't count in the heart of your true relationship. Yeah. So out of 16, 2 to 4 should not be that difficult. This I'm reminding myself.
Okay.
It seems like that. But, let's break down, if you want to do it one more time, let's break down our 16 hours and remove the non-essential things from that. So let's say social media, essential or non-essential? Maybe 10 minutes a day. Yeah. Then how much time are we all spending on average? Social media is usually a big, yeah, because those algorithms are designed to pull us in. You see, they're like Maya's big servants. So because I used to participate in running a marketing agency, I know those algorithms are designed to just keep the engagement of the user for as long as possible. And content creators are incentivized if their content keeps the user on the platform for longer. So the very design of it is to pull us in and not leave us. So social media, if we can cut out a lot, I feel that will give us a lot of time to play and easier to pray also. Exactly. So then entertainment, maybe that time can be reduced a bit. Then what else? I feel like between these 2 hours we can easily find. Even if we have like full-time jobs, things to work on. Yes, I'm not saying whether we're doing it, I'm just asking whether at least conceptually it is not difficult to find. Also, what you could do is that if it is a question of attention span, you could do smaller breaks. Take 15 minutes off, yes, go to that place and work for half an hour, 45 minutes, take 15 minutes off. Then you'll find that time. Depends on your temperament. I'm more of the like, okay, if I want to do it, then I'll just go at a stretch. But other temperaments, smaller pieces, fine. And as much as possible during the rest of the day, just try and keep God's name with you. Or if you're doing the inquiry, keep the inquiry with you as much as possible.
Father,
Yeah.
Father, writing to God and expressing love and sometimes sharing challenges, does that also count in this time?
You can count that in this time. All these, there's no black and white really. We were talking about it, Satsang also, maybe after the broadcast, and it's very difficult to determine the boundaries of this. We just have to be heartfelt. So that 2 to 4 hours is just like a broad guideline. But so so one child was saying that she heard some bhajan and that was just looping inside her, like her inner singing was happening, which was very beautiful and kept her with God. So does that count? So far we were saying no, let's not count bhajan and things, but that's a very compelling argument. And then, so then I said, but where do we draw the boundary? Like yesterday, I saw a few episodes of Ramayana, and in that, I was just sitting, watching it, crying, remembering God so much. So does that also count? Then it becomes very, very broad. So, so that's why I was saying that the safest boundary is that eyes closed to the exception, to the exclusion of everything else in the world. Mind doesn't like that at all. We are just empty for God. So let all of these things that we discussed today, let them count in the 2+ part, the trying to make it 4.
Yes, Baba.
Father, when I keep my eyes closed, usually there is a tendency to go to sleepiness. So it helps me to be more focused with my eyes open and praying. I yeah.
That's fine. That's fine. If you have that, then that's fine. And we must also try and pray. Like I have this bad habit of leaving it to the end of the day to catch up on my prayer time. But it's better actually, and I should have applied this to myself also uh, to be just fresh and then wide awake for our prayer. So just after waking up or after we are well rested, not when we are particularly tired. But I won't compel this because I'm not good at applying this to myself yet. But yeah, if with eyes open you can pray and that keeps you awake, that's fine. Remember that it's not so much about the letter of it, it's more about the spirit of it, literally. Uh, so that 2 hours becomes 1 hour, 45 minutes, but really your intent was only to be with God. That could be better than 4 hours of just watching the time and saying, when is this getting over? What am I doing? The spirit of it is what is important. What is the mind tendency going to be? Postpone it, leave it for tomorrow. Today is a bad day. Today too much is happening. I'm an expert in all these excuses. Today I'm really feeling that if you want to know what someone needs to grow at, they need to listen to what they say in Satsang. So I feel like I have to apply all this to myself also much more. So when the Atma speaks through the mouth, it is not at the exclusion of the one whose mouth is being used. Very much an inclusion of that one who needs to hear. So all of you as future teachers of God must always be careful, wary of this tendency to say, no, all of this applies to you. This is how pride can get to us. Yes, it's exactly the question I asked. One child said, OMG, that question about spending your whole life without the light of spirit or spending your whole life without worldly desires being fulfilled, which would you choose? Exactly. Okay, you're being nice and reminding me in indirect ways that it's time to go and rest. I didn't notice that's already said. For now, twice a week seems likely. We can change the announcement also. Have regular satsangs Monday and Friday, God willing. We see where it goes. Time satsang will be a cookery class. Many times satsang will be eating together. I don't really know when those will be. I realize that if the frequency is going to be lower, then the cookery class will have to be quite frequent. So we get a sense of the project itself more. What I mean, I'm going to start spiritual cooking. Everybody is looking a bit confused.